What's up, everybody? The chat is killing me. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Morning Cuppa Hockey presented by Bet365. Hockey fans, check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When your team goes up 3, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app today. You must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. And we are also presented by Parasso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care made in Italy since 1948. Parasso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Parasso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Jonny Lazarus. We got Marco D'Amico joining in about 15 minutes to talk about the Montreal Canadiens and their big win last night, and Stefen Rosner in about 45 minutes to talk about the Islanders and their big win last night. In between, we'll talk about some other stuff around the league. No, I am not pregnant. That was so funny though. I was cracking up.
The fact that you even just felt the need to address it, though.
Well, no, people might have thought you meant like my girlfriend. I don't know. Just I wanted to debunk that.
I was pretty specific with what I said.
Yeah, no, I know. But let's talk hockey right away, Colby. Last night, I don't know if everyone stayed up and caught the Vegas Buffalo game. The Buffalo Sabres cannot lose. Ben Benya, imagine signing into the chat and the first thing you read is Jonny is pregnant. I just kept thinking Eric is pregnant. Congratulations. He's going to be a soccer player. Love Billy Madison, one of my favorite movies. But okay, hockey, let's dial in. I fell asleep with like 5 minutes left in the third period, but the Sabres closed it out in Vegas, 10-0-1 since returning from break. UPL first shutout of the year. But the big thing coming out of that game, Zach Benson cuts across the middle, gets a hit from Brady McNabb. Originally called a 5-minute major, but the refs actually reviewed it and took it off the board. It was deemed a clean hit. And Colby, like we've been talking about suspensions pretty much all week, guys getting hit and their teammates stepping up for them. I mean, the Buffalo Sabres have shown now time and time again throughout the year, nobody's going to fuck with them without, getting some pushback. So I love seeing that from Buffalo. But what did you make of the hit? Because this is one of those confusing hits to me where I feel like the NHL is trying to get these kind of hits out of the game. You can argue that it's a blindside, but like McNabb to me had everything tucked, and I think you can't really cut across the middle with your head down like Benson did. I actually like that they took it off the board as a 5.
Vic, can you play it again? I want to just kind of see it again one more time. It looked to me, Jonny, that his head was actually not down. And it looked to me like Benson sort of just made the decision of like, I'll take my chances. His head looked up. He looked somewhat aware. Like, yes, he sort of turns at the last second, but it does feel like there's a point where, where they are eye to eye. And you're right. There was no head contact. Everything was low. It wasn't late to me, Jonny. I mean, I think it was in that sort of 1 Mississippi range.
Yeah, I agree.
And, yes, good point by the Rangers wire. There's a big height difference between the two players, which always creates a little more,
conversation.
Yeah. Or conversation. But I mean, listen, we can't remove physicality from the game of hockey. I mean, it is a violent sport. And so I think this is one of the best rules that the NHL has come up with in the last number of years. I know Dave Jackson loves this rule, and I think this is a great rule for officials as well. If you give it to, if you call a 5, you can go in and look at it.
Yeah.
Right. And I know in college, if you call a 5, you can't take it away. You can only put it down to a 2. In the NHL, you can fully take it away. So I thought it was a really good hockey hit. And nobody was dangerously injured, which is great, right? I mean, Benson gets back up. He's injured, but he's not laying on the ground unconscious. He didn't hit his head. There was
he popped up.
Yeah, like I almost feel like this is one of those really good hard hits through the middle, and almost maybe I would dare to say the perfect hit in the middle, because how many guys still throw those hits?
I'd still say it'd be perfect if the puck was still on Benson's stick. Like, I think that's when it'd be perfect. Like, he shoots it, there's like that split second, and then he gets hit.
I know, but it's a split second, Johnny. Remember, like, we're watching it on a camera. Like, I bet you it's less than half. I bet you it's less than half a second in real time.
And just to, Bruce Cassidy said, well, it sure looked clean the whole way. I mean, he's a big man hitting a smaller guy. Like, that's kind of what we're talking about, the size advantage. And I think Lindy Ruff after the game was like, I thought it was maybe a second late. So I don't think anyone was calling it like dirty intent and whatnot. I don't think it was like a predatory conversation, right? Like, are we having that conversation with this hit? Because you could, I'm just asking you, because some people would probably say, like, if a guy cuts across the middle, anyone would deem that predatory. That's how some people would view it.
Yeah, I mean, some people view things in life in a weird way, Johnny. Like, they can view it however they want to view it. The officials made the right call. Buffalo had the right response. It was a hard hit, and your teammate gets rocked in center ice, and it's hockey, man. I mean, I wish, I feel like players are a little timid to try to make those hits now. I feel like Trouba is the only one who does that with any level of consistency. Although I feel like it's been a while since we've seen a Trouba hit like that, and everybody freaks out every time he does it. But we've said this before. Trouba's the best at that.
I think he had one on Ryan Leonard a few months ago, if you remember, in Washington. I think, like, behind the net, right? Remember Leonard like made that like behind the back pass, and Trouba finished him right after. I think that was the last time he did it. But
did he get a penalty for that? I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I don't think so though. But it's definitely been a minute since we've talked about a cheap, but Jacob Trouba questionable hit. Other topics.
I never find those to be questionable. The ones that are questionable with Trouba are the ones that he misses, because those are the ones where he looks like he's like trying to Radko Gudas someone. You know what I mean? Like, that's the difference on those ones that the ones, I feel like there's that compilation on the internet that people have put together, the ones where Trouba, I feel like Jordan Schmaltz is kind of
Schmaltz probably.
Where Trouba's like flying and he's like missing guys. Those ones look a lot worse than the ones that he normally connects on, which, like I said, I know this is an unpopular take, but like, I think Trouba is really the best and the only player in the National Hockey League that is still throwing those hits. Even Tom Wilson has really pulled back. I mean, he has one of those every season now. I mean, he kind of knows, like, hey, like, I it's too hairy for me at this point.
Yeah, the only hit I didn't love from Tom Wilson this year was the one on Hedl, but I have a sensitive spot for Philip Hedl, so like that's kind of.
I think we went through that hit and we decided it was maybe a half a second too late, but we also said, like, it wasn't that egregious either.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
it's just because it was Hedl that made it more. More of a conversation. All right, next topic to get into before we bring on Marco D'Amico. Obviously, this news will make its rounds throughout shows across hockey today, but Leon Draisaitl being ruled out for the regular season. It's not something that you can just not talk about. The Oilers got a big win last night in San Jose. It got scary there for a second. They blew a 3-1 lead. They were home against San Jose. The Sharks made it close, kept it close, but the Oilers pulled away in the end and won that game. Zach Hyman had a big insurance goal in the third. Is this a bigger story than it is a problem for Edmonton, or is this, something that just Connor McDavid will find a way to step up on his own and help the Oilers secure their spot in the playoffs, and then Leon will be back for the playoffs?
Well, listen,
are we having that Oilers are in jeopardy of missing conversation?
No, we're definitely not having that conversation. The Oilers are a playoff team with or without Leon Draisaitl. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, after watching them play last night and watching them play a much more thorough game last night. They got contributions from all four lines. Connor McDavid will just understand that he's got to just do some Connor McDavid things. But I actually think this gives the Edmonton Oilers an opportunity to play a style, Johnny, where they can't outscore their problems because you lose one of the best players in the entire National Hockey League. So I kind of think that this forces Edmonton to tighten up. I think it forces guys to make better decisions. And it forces guys to probably play a little bit more responsibly, let's say from the blue line to about the top of the circle in each zone. Because I think when the Oilers are getting loose, Johnny, you can always point back to that, 5 to 8 foot area around the blue line where the Edmonton Oilers generally mismanage pucks. And they generally refuse to live to fight another day. And that's why they get into so many track meets. And then they don't have the greatest goaltending. So they never, ever really get bailed out on those types of games. So I think now everybody says, you know what? I've got a great opportunity to step up. If you're a guy like Jason Dickinson, who just gets brought into Edmonton, well, in Chicago, you were asked to do more. Right. So now maybe you're going to get asked to do a little bit more in Edmonton. And so I do think this is an opportunity for Edmonton to kind of grow their game in some other areas. So I'm not going to sit here and act like it's a good thing. It's never a good thing to lose Leon Draisaitl, ever, no matter how you want.
But maybe you get him fresh for the playoffs then, maybe it's like one of those situations. Yeah. Right? Like he's played a lot of hockey.
Listen, lower body injury this time of year, Johnny, that's not a good thing because I don't see you're not going to get an opportunity to really keep your conditioning. And who knows how healthy he is. Nobody said, hey, he'll be back for opening night of the playoffs. They just said he's out until playoffs. What does that really mean? Right? Do we know when? Do we know what the injury is? Do we know how severe the injury is? There's rumors going around Edmonton that maybe they're calling it a lower body injury, but maybe it's not. Maybe he has a few things and they're leaving aside one of the other injuries because they don't want him to be targeted in the playoffs. I'm not sure I believe that conspiracy theory coming out of Edmonton right now, but I'm just saying, like, there's no way to paint this in a positive light, but there are ways that this team can grow without Leon, and there are things that they can do in order to sort of fortify different areas of their game that have been problematic. And then you got to hope he is ready for opening night, and he can get up to speed pretty quickly, which I'm sure he can as long as he's healthy.
Jeremiah is saying, I read broken ribs. Jeremiah, can you tell us where you read that? I haven't seen any specific detail about it.
That is exactly the conspiracy theory that I'm talking about, by the way. Okay. That is what I've heard, and I've heard they're calling it lower body because maybe his knee's not feeling great or his groin is acting up, and they don't want his ribs to get, they don't want players sort of targeting him in the playoffs. But then lying about a player's injury in this day and age, I'll tell you what, there's draft picks, fines. I mean, the NHL cracks down on that if you get caught. And in a day and age where everybody knows everyone and everybody's really connected, lying about a guy's injury would be a little bit of in my opinion, a dumb thing to do if you're the Edmonton Oilers, that's why I'm saying I'm not really buying into that. Maybe he's sore in a couple of different areas, but it just kind of is what it is, Johnny. So it's not a good thing. They will make the playoffs. And on the same breath, they can evolve as a team and they can grow in areas, and they will have to grow in areas without him down the stretch.
Yeah, well said. We do have Marco here, so I do want to bring him on. But before we do, just a quick word from our sponsor, JP Weisers. No matter where your team sits this season, watching the game with your crew makes everything better. The wins feel bigger and the rivalries hit harder. As the official whiskey of the NHL, JP Weisers is all about those moments that matter from October through June. The rituals, the midweek matchups, and the regional rivalries that bring friends together. Because when you get the crew together for a game night, that's a W. This season, fans can look forward to limited edition products and plenty more from JP Weisers. To stay up to date, visit jpweisers.com and subscribe to the JP Weisers newsletter for the latest on limited edition drops, products, and more. You must be legal drinking age, so please enjoy responsibly. With that, let's bring on friend of the show, Marco D'Amico. And right off the bat, Marco, I got to ask you, is Cole Caufield the best 60-goal scorer to never score 50 goals in the NHL? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I saw your tweets yesterday in that regard, pulling up some tweets from a couple of years ago and then even last year. Look, Cole Caufield consistently finds new ways of reaching new heights from a goal-scoring perspective. I projected 47 goals at the beginning of the season. He's right on that mark. And we'll see if he's able to hit 50 before the end of the season. He's got 15 games to do so. But I think we're all going to be looking at the 40 goals that he scored. I think it's the more complete game that Cole Caufield plays. You know, everyone's replaying that overtime goal. And yes, he does have 24 game tie-breaking goals. So that is the most in the league by a significant margin. But it's the two-way play, like the play that he made on Nick Suzuki's first goal, where he recoups the puck at the blue line, makes a crazy pass to Slafkovsky that gets it to Nick Suzuki and gets the Canadiens in the game. That, to me, is where Cole Caufield has evolved from his U.S. national development days, where he was, a goal-scoring machine, to now being this dual-threat offensive player who, if he continues, is going to be, a point-per-game player by the end of the season.
Yeah, look, he's been on quite a run this year, and obviously there was a lot of noise about him making the Olympic team, and the disappointment I'm sure he felt with that, and I got to think he'll have an opportunity in the next one. But I think the last time we had you on, Marco, we talked a little bit. By the way, I love the hat. I love the hat, pal.
Thank you.
We talked a lot about finding the right guys to play with Nick Suzuki as this team charges for, an opportunity to come back to the playoffs, as they've been rebuilding this team here over the last couple of seasons. As of late, it's looking like Slafkovsky, Suzuki, Caufield have found a little bit of chemistry and have been producing at a decently high rate. Are you confident that this is what we're going to see as this team moves towards the playoffs? I see you kind of smiling. I love when you come on here and you you follow this team day to day. So you're always willing to push back, and I appreciate that about you. So what are you thinking about that line? And is that what we should expect to see out of the Montreal Canadiens?
No, I 100% agree with you. I think that line has great chemistry, and it's a line that's worked very well for them in the past. The Montreal Canadiens were often seen as a one-line team up until this year, and that was the line. And they've performed well together. What Martin St. Louis tried to do prior to the Olympic break was maybe kind of spread out the offense a little bit, because it felt like Oliver Kapanen and Ivan Demidov were kind of on an island by themselves. And especially when Alex Newhook went down with an injury, they wanted to provide some form of stability to that second line. Well, now that Alex Newhook has returned, Juraj Slafkovsky back on that top line. And that top line, they're used together on the power play, yes, but at 5-on-5, they're both an offensive line and a shutdown line at the same time. Martin St. Louis is not shy to put him up against the opposition's top line. So I like what we see from them. And when it comes time to the crunch periods where we're seeing right now, the last 15 games of the season, to see them go back to what's worked in the past is not surprising. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the first line come day one in the playoffs. The only thing I would say that may move things around is obviously A, injuries, but B, the potential arrival of Michael Hage sometime in the month of April. That may be the element that maybe forces them to shuffle around the top six.
Oh, but if I was a betting man, Johnny, I think I would say Michael Hage isn't going to be available till April 12th.
April 12th.
The national championship game is April 11th. If you got him before April 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th, I would be absolutely shocked with how good that Michigan team is. But how many games are after April 12th? Do you know how many?
Uno.
One. Okay. So
the Philadelphia Flyers.
You burn that year, play that game, and then get ready for a playoff series, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like I've told a lot of people, when NCAA players burn that first year, a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, why did you do that?" You lose that cost-controlled year. But you also have to factor in that. But you also have to factor in that when they do burn that first year, if they don't play 10 games, they become a 10.2 CRFA and are ineligible for offer sheets at the end of their ELC. So like Lane Hutson this summer, like Ivan Demidov, this upcoming summer, these guys don't have the same amount of leverage that, say, a guy like Macklin Celebrini is going to have this summer. Yeah. Because Macklin Celebrini, if he gets to July 1st, 2027, is offer sheet eligible.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. The other thing people never talk about with guys that burn a year early, think about when guys really hit their stride, right? It's pretty rare players come in right away and just torch everything right away. I mean, imagine if Lane Hutson had another year of this production before his contract year. So you got Lane Hutson cheaper because he burned a year. If Lane would have put up the numbers that Lane has been putting up, and this summer he would have been available for a contract, it would have been another couple $1 million a year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You start the clock early and you basically rush them to their second contract. And if they're good, it doesn't give them as much time to really spread their wings. And then you actually end up saving money. I've always looked at that as a very worthwhile gamble for a guy that you were pretty damn sure was going to play in the NHL, to let him burn that first year, excuse me, and get quicker to the contract to save yourself money. I've kind of always said there's definitely a cost analysis on that and a risk on that type of play.
Yeah, Marco, I didn't even know that fact. That was a good fact you just brought here. I think our chat didn't really realize that either.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the major benefit of signing guys out of the NCAA, like at this point, especially top prospects. I know a lot of people get kind of bummed out when that first year is burned right away. But again, there are significant benefits. And if you look at a team like the Montreal Canadiens, they've taken full advantage of those negotiations, right? You look at their salary structure, all the players that they've re-signed internally, Lane Hutson is the highest earning one at $8.85 million. And that only starts next year. After that, Nick Suzuki makes under $8 million. Cole Caufield makes under $8 million. Slafkovsky makes under $8 million. The real big one is going to be Ivan Demidov. And again, I knowing the way that Kent Hughes works, I would be shocked if that went over the double digits in the millions. I sincerely believe that it'll probably be in the same vicinity if it goes to an 8-year deal, because those are still permissible up until the 16th of September this year. If it's an 8-year deal, I'd be I don't know that it would be that much more than what Lane Hutson's already getting, which would be fantastic and would probably set up the Canadiens long term. So there is an absolute benefit of being able to maybe have a little bit more control over your long-term fiscal structure, because it avoids the problems that other teams in the past, like the Leafs, have gone through, where their core is simply just priced them out of being able to fill the rest of their lineup with the depth they need.
Yeah, the Canadiens don't have that problem at all. I think the last time you were on here, we were saying, or maybe it was 2 times ago, whatever, we were saying that, like, I don't know if anyone's set for a better future right now than Montreal with how they have everybody locked in at a pretty good price.
We've got a comment from Jim the Swede in our chat, and Jim is Jim is not a rapid fire member of the chat, but I feel like when Jim the Swede comes with a comment, he comes and he makes a great point. He said Hutson this year is 7 times $12.5 million D if his contract's up. So this is a case for Montreal and Demidov, all these different guys where, again, if you had to let these guys play 2 full seasons and a burn year, forget it. 1 burn year, 1 full season. Yeah, in Montreal, that's going to end up saving you like a full player worth of money, the way that these contracts are working out.
Did Lane sign 4 years?
No.
8 times 8.85.
Okay.
And in fact, the offer that was on the table was 8 times 9. And Lane took an $150,000 cut off of that, like everybody else does. Basically, Matheson did the same thing. Suzuki did the same thing. Caufield asked his agent, Pat Brisson, to have just a smidge under Nick Suzuki's salary to respect the salary structure. Like, they've all taken less to stay in Montreal, which is something that has never happened under any administration here.
It's so funny that, like, we kind of speak the opposite way about Toronto, and Montreal is just as big of a hockey market as Toronto is, and it's like the complete different vibe. But I don't want to get into that conversation. Marco, I want to ask you about the actual style of play that you've seen from Montreal post-break, since the return from break, because it does feel like, when you watch the Canadiens play, it's obviously a lot of high-octane offense, but it feels like they're also giving up a lot. And I don't know if that's, and I'm not just saying that because, the goaltenders haven't been necessarily their best. So, like, maybe it feels louder than what it actually is, but they've given up a lot of chances. Last night was probably one of their better games when it comes to defending. I thought like they probably outplayed Boston for the majority of that game. But do you feel like they haven't been as locked down or as shut down defensively as maybe they were in the beginning of the season?
I think there's definitely a level of sloppiness in terms of their defensive structure. I think, the other thing to keep into consideration is we've reached another point in this season. Games are getting tighter. Ice is much, much smaller. You got to really fight for every inch out there. And, the risk for turnovers is ever so much higher because of that. And so it's always about being able to time the coverage as well. They play this kind of like hybrid man-to-man defensive structure. So sometimes when they're up high, those point shots will get deflected down low because they're not aggressive on the coverage. I like that you pointed out that yesterday was a much better game. The Bruins only scored 1 goal at 5-on-5, and it was unfortunately due to a double coverage situation from Lane Hutson and Oliver Kapanen. And Hutson was kind of self-logging himself in the dressing room after the game, saying like, that stayed with him in that game, and it was a mistake on his end. He was a little bit too aggressive.
It was a nice play, though. Give Boston credit. That was a nice play.
Yeah, it was a great play.
But it happened the game before.
Pavel Zacha had a game.
That's the problem.
And that's
the same
and that's exactly what he brought up.
On the game-winning
exactly
goal for Cutter Gauthier against Anaheim. And again, there's no bigger cheerleader in this sport for Lane Hutson than me, but I'll call a spade here. Like, he will go through these moments, and he has to learn because he's such a big-minute guy. Against Anaheim the night before, Marco, I know you know the play I'm talking about. His instincts say, let me get under this pile and cut this play off, because he is a smart player. The problem is they don't come out with the puck, and then VL is able to make that no-look pass, and Cutter gets off the wall on him. And so now all of a sudden, I get why no one is harder on Lane Hutson than Lane Hutson. He is
100%.
so hard on himself. And this is a great job by Vic to pull this video up. You see Lane, he creeps into the pile, and Cutter just sneaks out right behind him. Again,
stay on the D side.
But these are good moments for him. Remember, this is his first year in the playoffs. He's such a key contributor. He will clean that up, Marco. I have seen it up Lane Hutson that he will clean that up.
Case in point, look at the way that he bounced back from that second Zacha goal in overtime with 2 minutes of consistent possession from the Bruins, and he comes in with the sliding poke, keeps the puck, waits to produce the change, and then recoups on the bench and is on the ice for the game winner. Like, that to me is Lane Hutson, because he'll make mistakes, but I think Lane Hutson's superpower is he's consistently learning. And that's what's going to make him one of the top defensemen in this league for years.
Do you know Marco, that I said that Lane would be a Hall of Famer last year? Jonny freaked out at me when I said that. Recently, when we saw the number where he just had some crazy
assists.
Right?
He had 150 assists or something like that.
Brian Leach was the only other guy to do it in that time period or something like that. I forget the number, and I'm like, I'll double down on the Lane Hutson thing. I think Lane Hutson, because how willing he is to get better and how critical he is of himself. I mean, I heard they have to hide his skates on days off so he doesn't go on the ice. Because those factors plus his talent, I will double and triple down on what I think about Lane and his potential and how good of a player he is. Jonny, I know you wanted to jump in and say something, so I'll let you have the floor here. But I wanted to tell you, Marco, that was something I said last year, and Jonny came for me when I said that.
Because if I said that about somebody, you'd be like,
well, yeah, obviously the rules are not the same for you and I. I'm a hypocrite when it comes to you. Come on, 100%. We've established 100%. That.
But Marco, we have a great comment in our chat. This is from Riley Beaton, W5. Who would Montreal favor to play in the first round in the Atlantic, and who would they like to avoid in the Atlantic? Feels like everyone wants to avoid Buffalo right now.
Knowing this team, I don't think they want to avoid anyone. They don't care who they play. Now, if you were to ask Canadiens fans, probably Buffalo. I think Buffalo is the St. Louis Blues of 2019 right now, the way that I see them. Just absolutely a wagon, so difficult to beat right now. And they're actually getting the goaltending to go with the incredible play of their forwards. So when those two things are running simultaneously, it's very hard to beat. I think the Canadiens match up quite well against teams like Detroit. I think they would match up well against a Boston if that were to ever happen. please let that happen one day. It would be, a very intriguing, like say if they were to slide into the wild card spots, it would be very intriguing to see how they would match up against Carolina. So I honestly, I think Buffalo is the only team that they would really worry about, but I think the only way they're going to play Buffalo is if they slide into one of those 2 wildcard spots. So if they maintain the current pace that they're on, Tampa Bay, Montreal seems to be that kind of series where you separate the youngsters from the men and you see really where this team is in their rebuild.
Again, I'm just looking at the standings right now. It's going to be a close race to the finish, right? Like,
oh yeah.
I was trying to make sense of it. Actually, I saw last night someone said like Montreal versus Boston is the first like 4-point game, I guess, or something, because they both got the point. I don't know. I didn't really make sense to me. I don't know if you had seen that, but
yeah, I did. But there's been 4-point games with the way that the Eastern Conference has looked like.
Yeah,
there's been 4-point games since November.
Everyone keeps winning. It's just like how it is. Like Columbus won again last night. The Islanders won again last night. It's crazy. But sticking with the theme, I guess, that we were talking about before of giving up a lot of chances and whatnot, and the way they've been playing. Is Dobish now the like official? Like, what's going on with the goaltenders there? Because I think Montembeault like wasn't dressed, right? Like, what's the latest with Fowler being up and Dobish? Like, where's this rotation at right now?
Yeah, well, I think you can confirm without any, qualms that Jakub Dobish is going to be part of the 2 goalie rotation moving forward, right? Definitely the player that they would deem the most reliable in this kind of a situation. I'm pretty sure Jake gets the game tomorrow against Detroit. If not, he'll get Saturday against the Islanders in Montreal. And I think they're going to run with those 2 for the time being, and because you've just pointed out how tight the Eastern Conference is. They can't be losing games where they score 4 or 5 goals. They can't anymore. So you have to put your best goaltenders forward. And unfortunately, for Sam Montembeault, he's kind of been cast aside a little bit. I don't know if that's a permanent thing, and I'm not going to speak on it. He's had a really tough go this season. Respect the player. He's an A1 human being. But right now, it does seem like the organization wants to move forward with Dobish and Fowler down the stretch. They have the cap space to do so. They have the confidence in Jacob Fowler, significant amount of confidence in Jacob Fowler, and they do feel like he is the future. Yeah, exactly. And they feel like he is the future. So the games aren't always going to be perfect. I thought Fowler played good, but not great against the Anaheim Ducks. But again, between Jakub Dobish and
he did make some really timely saves late in that game, Marco. Like, I'm with you on that. And I look at that and I'm like, okay, like these are some growing pains. But there were 3 saves he made in the 3rd period of that game when it was tied. And they, to me, felt like big moment, like big time goalie moments. Like you could see the star starting to poke through when he's making those calm saves in a game that is against a good team that's high octane, that plays with a lot of offensive juice. So I'm with you on that, but I did love the saves in that Anaheim game that he made in that 3rd period.
It's a lot to ask of a 21-year-old to have to steal NHL games for you, but he did give him the best chance to win possible. It was up for the Canadiens to play better in front of him on Sunday.
Yeah. What about the Brendan Gallagher situation? Because, he just hits his 900th game. I think, was it the game before he was healthy for the first time in his career? Was it 2 games before? Okay, a couple games before, right? Is that a distraction right now? Like, how's he handling it? He's been around long enough that I would think he understands, like, how to be a good pro and realize the team is bigger than him. Again, as an outsider, that's what I would think. You're in the locker room. You're around the team. Like, is that an uncomfortable thing going on in that room right now, or are you not concerned?
I wasn't personally concerned. I think it's more of a story for us to talk about. But within the players, basically were like, he's going to be out this game, and he's going to come in next game and play like his life depended on it. And that's exactly what ended up happening. And then, even against Boston last night, Gallagher was just flying out there. His line with Philip Deneau and Josh Anderson was just everywhere. And they really brought the tempo after the first line went to work offensively. They'd be there crashing and banging. And, Brendan Gallagher was right in that mix, and he was making things happening. He was battling. And obviously now with the injury to Kirby Dach, I don't see a guy like Gallagher getting out of the lineup. It was a momentary thing because for the first time this season, the Canadiens had, 15 healthy-ish forwards that they had to try and get into the lineup or at least rotate into the lineup. So it's nothing, it's nothing bad, but it's just you couldn't afford to take anybody else out, and you had to try and get Alex Texier and or Zachary Bolduc into the lineup. So there is a little bit of a rotation going on in the bottom six. Less so now because of obviously Kirby Dach's injury, but I don't think it was much more than that in the moment. And the players in the room when they found out that Gallagher was getting scratched, like there was some emotional reactions because of just how much he means to the team. So that seeing him in that lineup the next day and seeing him in the lineup against the Bruins, and especially when they announced his 900th game on the Jumbotron, the ovation that he got from the Canadiens fans, I think it was status quo. Everybody kind of understood this as a business. But there's more to Brendan Gallagher than the stat sheet, and I think that was put on full display yesterday.
Might need to hear you say Balduc's first name again if you can.
Zachary?
Oh, that was great. That was so good.
Don't make me pronounce Italian names. It's going to be even worse, guys.
Well, Vic and I, we love the French pronunciation of names. We like whatever. Just something that we always find funny hearing. I kind of lost my train of thought, but what did I want to ask you? Oh, you know what? I want to go back to Cole. I want to go back to Cole for a second. We kind of skipped over Cole. I asked as a joke, the Cole Caufield's the best, 50 goal scorer, never score 40. Those tweets and that joke and stuff, it is a compliment to Cole. I think we all knew that this was in him, but he hadn't done it yet. And I think, listen, I am all for getting dunked on. Anyone who knows me knows that. But I found it funny last night that I had Canadiens fans saying, "What now? Any update?" And I was like, I love Cole Caufield. I think that he is a 50 goal scorer. That's the whole,
Cole Caufield. I'm pretty sure you had him on your Olympic team too. You're a big Cole Caufield guy, no doubt.
He's the biggest sweetheart in the NHL, and Montreal deserves a kid like this. His energy is, second to none in the NHL. He's such an unbelievable guy, and I didn't realize that Montreal hadn't had a 40 goal scorer since that 93, what was it 92, 93 or 93, 94 season?
93, 94
with Damphousse. So I guess just how cool has it been for you up close to watch Cole in the year he's had this year? And hi, Oliver.
Sorry, I'm distracted by the good pup. But
Oliver's a big fan of the show. He's a big fan of the show.
I'm a big fan of Oliver's already, guys. I'm sorry. When it comes to Caufield, I mean, look, the closest thing that the Canadiens have had to that kind of a player was Max Pacioretty. He had one season where he got to 39 and had a handful of games to get to 40 and just couldn't get over the hump. And so the Canadiens fans have literally been waiting 32 years for something like this, which is not a good stat line to have. But I think it goes to show you that this Canadiens organization has kind of hit another stride in where they're going. And to have a player like Cole, who not only is as electric on the ice as he is off the ice, but it's also the way he goes about his business, right? He scores 40 goals. Everyone's hyping him last night. Oh my God, what's next? How about 50 goals? And his answer's yeah, I'm just thinking about 41 at this point. Or, journalists in the dressing room yesterday being hey, do you know it's been 32 years since the Canadiens have had a 40 goal scorer? And, Cole just trying to make fun of the situation goes yeah, you guys have talked about it a lot since I've been here. So just going to show you how level-headed and uneasy he is with all of it, because he has high expectations of himself and he knows that he wanted to reach 40 goals. That he wants to reach 50 goals either this season or in the future. And I believe that he will eventually get to that 50 goal marker as this team develops even further its offensive game. And I think when you have that kind of a straight shooter like him, a lot of what Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon have done, even though they didn't draft Cole, is bring in players that are made or that could withstand this market. And Cole Caufield is a player that can not only withstand this market, he could thrive in it. And I think he's showing that right now.
With that too, well, yeah.
I was just going to say, Johnny, it seems like Montreal's the one market where the American guys, there's no the American guys don't want to play here or the American guys are getting grilled here. It just doesn't. You have all these American players re-upping on 8-year deals and I'm not saying it's not happening in other markets, by the way.
Yeah,
like
like Winnipeg
Rochester
and
just signed an
Calgary, you don't
extension.
really hear that.
Winnipeg guys have Kyle Connor signed, but you just don't hear the noise around it like you hear noise right now around a guy
Ottawa,
that doesn't
Toronto.
want to go to Vancouver, doesn't want to go to Toronto. You don't hear it really about Edmonton anymore. It pops up every now and again. It seems like players do actually want to play in Edmonton, but I think just recently at the deadline, didn't somebody said, yeah, I'm not going west to Edmonton. I think Vinny Trocheck's name popped up a couple of times.
I don't think he said
that was
specifically Edmonton.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to go west. He
doesn't
want to go to Canada. It's those are all the teams on his list.
Yeah,
it was Los Angeles.
Got it.
Just to maybe shed some light on what you just brought up there, Noah Dobson gently forced his way to Montreal this summer, the previous summer, as a pending RFA with arbitration rights and 1 year away from free agency. And he wanted, his number one destination was to go to Montreal. And he even took a little less on his contract demands to, facilitate a trade to come to Montreal. So there is something in terms of the culture of the team that's growing, not only from the homegrown guys that are extending 8 years right off the bat, but even guys with significant contractual leverage are, considering going to Montreal when that was something of a fantasy, maybe, as recently as 10 years ago. So there is a cultural shift going on in Montreal. And I think Ken Hughes and Jeff Gordon have done a good job in not only communicating that, but exemplifying it by the product that they're putting on the ice.
Honestly, I had one more for you, but I feel like that's a perfect transition to lead into Stefen Rosner, who's here. So Marco,
you talk about a culture guy, Stefen Rosner, man, what a beauty.
we will let you go. But obviously, whenever Montreal has something going on, you're getting that text from me. Last night I loved it when you're like, I saw this coming. But thank you. You're the best. We really love having you on here. And we'll talk.
I love late night Jonny texts anytime, my friend.
Thanks,
you guys.
Marco.
Take care now.
Appreciate it. Don't make that face, Colby. Let's bring on Stefen Rosner. Very excited to have him on. He just landed actually from Toronto, was at the game last night. So just walked in the door, setting up, and we are very excited to have him on. A good friend of the show. Let's bring him in, Vic. We don't need to read him in. So let's see if we can get Steph on. Doesn't seem to be working. What's happening?
Talk, Jonny.
Okay, we'll transition. Steph is not ready yet, but obviously Colby, the Islanders right now, one of the bigger stories in the NHL. They have to continue winning. Patrick Waugh had that quote last night. While Columbus keeps winning, he says, well, we keep winning too. He was asked if he's paying attention to the other teams. But the Islanders, man, they're a problem. And Braden Shen scores his first goal last night. The Islanders get 2 power play goals, which has been their biggest problem. And Matt Barzal, I don't know if you're paying attention, Cole. Matt Barzal on pace, I think, for 77 points. I saw Ariel put in our chat earlier. I mean, what can you say about the year this guy's having? Schaefer gets all the attention, but Barzal has been pretty damn good too.
Yeah, he definitely has been pretty good. On pace for 77 points. So Ariel said, she's throwing the E word around at me and wants to know my opinion, if my opinion has changed. My opinion will change when Matt Barzal can take you guys to the promised land. I'll call him elite if he leads his team to a Stanley Cup and he puts his team on his back like we have seen other elite generational types do. So first off, Steph, good morning. How was your travel? Coming through Pearson? Like any issues?
Well, first off, Air Canada, such a joke. Hopefully they're not sponsored you guys at all because I got delayed so much going down there. Missed morning skate yesterday. Got in right as morning skate was happening. And then flew back this morning. It was fantastic. Traveling yesterday was a little tough. Today was much better.
What are those headphones? What is in your ears?
They are brand new headphones from Best Buy. And they're very different, but they're very unique and they're very good. They're called...
Can you turn?
I'll show you, but if I take them out, I might lose you. They connect like this, and they hook underneath your ear. You can put them sideways. They don't fall off. They're good for working out and stuff. So I got them for my birthday. They're pretty nice.
I couldn't tell if those were earrings or headphones originally.
No. We're rocking. We're good. We're alive. We're feeling good today.
Okay, but let's talk about that game last night. And I get attacked for my wires in my headphones. So if I have a chance to attack somebody else for headphones, I will. But the power play, that's the big story out of last night, right, Steph? Cal Ritchie obviously has become now a main focus on the goal line. It seems like a lot of plays go through him. I mean, I think we've seen a lot this year. It's Barzal down to Richie in the goal line to Horvat in the bumper. Like that's been their go-to play. But last night, Schenn scores that goal, and Richie scores his power play goal. Are you seeing, like, if the Islanders can get this going, is that when they become the real threat? I think we said last time you were on here, they're not going to be a real threat until their power play figures it out.
Yeah, actually, we were talking to Patrick Waugh the other day, and I said, is the last thing really for you guys to feel like you're at your best is the power play? And he said, yeah, the PK has been really good. They've been much better at 5-on-5. The defense has been good. That's what it comes down to. I mean, you look at the playoffs when they played Carolina. I know they missed the playoffs last year, but every year they've lost in the first round has been because they've lost the special teams battle. You need the power play to come through. It's so tight in the playoffs, so tight down the stretch right now that you have to find ways to win games. And Callum Ritchie doing what he did. And the funny thing about him being on the goal line is in juniors, he's never played that, ever. And Mathew Barzal is obviously on the half wall. And Patrick Waugh went with his gut and said, I think he's a smart playmaker. Let's try it. And Ritchie has looked really good down there. Braden Schenn, I talked to him about it during morning skate. Schenn was working with him on the body positioning and opening up and creating that lane for both of those passes. And to see it work out, Schenn said, listen, give Ritchie all the credit in the world. He's a kid that wants to learn, wants to get better. But right now, if Callum Ritchie is going to play like this, I mean, I think he's got to be a little better at 5-on-5, but in the big moments on the power play, he comes through. I mean, the Islanders get a 2-0 lead early in that game yesterday, and they're able to cruise really to a victory. And that's this stage of the season. You want to be able to lock down leads in the third period and not play catch-up. But yeah, the Islanders unlock the power play. I'm not going to say they're cup contenders because I know that gets thrown around, but they're dangerous as ever if they get that power play clicking.
Is there any concern about the size maybe and some of these like smaller, more crafty players? Schaefer's obviously a slight guy. You get into the playoffs, it gets nasty, it gets physical. Teams are going to probably target him and and I don't mean target him in a bad way, but like, okay, every time he's on the ice, you got to finish your hit against him. Every time you get an opportunity to make him turn, go back for a puck, put a body on him, run into him. We talked about on this show a week or two ago how impressed I've been with the understanding from the rest of his teammates that when he's on the ice, he plays that sort of rover, fourth forward type of position. The Islanders are so aware that they need to always have a good third forward ready to cover for him because he's so effective at going down low. As this gets towards the playoffs, the way the physicality picks up, Barzal, not a big guy, not an easy guy to hit, by the way, and doesn't take a lot of huge hits because he is such a gifted skater. But does that worry you at all that maybe they're not structurally built up front? I know Horvat is not a small guy, but he's not an overly physical player. Yeah, like he'll play a little bit heavy at times, but I just wonder, do they have that makeup to really go on a long run this year?
Yeah, I think when you talk about speed, you have to catch them to hit them, right? And I know what you mean by that. Like, we haven't seen Schaefer in the playoffs. I think Callum Ritchie, he's struggled with being physical. But you look at up and down their lineup, and, you look at Horvat's a big dude. He carries some weight. Pajot is small, but he plays like he's 6'5". Yeah. Anders Lee's a big boy. Andre Palat's a big boy. Susie, so I think they got the depth to be physical, but that's going to be the biggest question mark. Not even the physicality. How do the young guys get, more engaged? Like, again, Schaefer is not someone that lays hits, but in the playoffs, he's someone that maybe he lays a big hit. Getting Romanov back too is something we should point out, that the timeline for him was mid-playoffs when we first saw the injury, and then it changed to he could be ready for the start of the playoffs. So that does change things if he's ready to hit. But yeah, that's a major question mark. They have a couple of guys in this lineup that the playoff experience is going to be brand new for them, and that's when you want to see other guys really, really step up. So yeah, it is a concern, but I think they're more concerned about being able to run 4 lines, getting that power play going. But yeah, I think for a guy like Schaefer too, especially, nothing's too big for him. No moment's too big. I think in the playoffs happen, he'll fit right into that mold and okay, he could turn it up a little bit in the playoffs, maybe be a little more physical.
How has Schenn fit in so far? Have you been able to talk to him a lot? Obviously, you're talking to everybody in that room, but it seems like he's fit pretty smoothly from everything I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, this room is so easy to just get integrated into. Like, they are so welcoming. You talk about everyone that joins this team, but Braden Schenn came in and said it's been fantastic. And I'll credit Braden Schenn too. He comes in and right away takes Richie under his wing. And he's talked about it, how he's done that with a lot of guys on the Blues, but he came in and was a leader. He acted like a captain from day one. The Islanders respect him, but he's been a great fit. I was confused a little bit with the fit when the deal was made, and then you feel like Drouin's going back their way, but still, you had Richie at center. You didn't need really a Schenn. You needed that top six goal scorer. It does move Richie to the wing, but no, Schenn's been a good fit. You saw him on the power play. He's got a couple of assists and a goal, so 3 points in 5 games, I think, at this point. And yeah, he's solidified this lineup. Now, the whole point of getting Schenn, the same way the whole point of getting Palat, is that in the playoffs, they become those kinds of guys. They were in the playoffs maybe a couple of years ago, things like that. But no, I think Schenn's been a great fit. You're never going to complain about having another guy that wore a C. They have 3 guys, with Horvat wearing a C in Vancouver, Schenn wearing a C, and Lee, that know how to lead. And it's such a very veteran group. But yeah, I think he's been great, and we'll see what happens in the playoffs if they get there.
Colby?
I just think, Jonny, sometimes people like to think before they talk, and I know you struggle with like one Mississippi of an awkward silence. Yesterday, David Pagnotta reported that Cole Eiserman is on his way to signing with the New York Islanders. So a lot of people were tweeting at me, asking me if I had any idea about it. I got a couple of messages about it on Twitter. My understanding of the situation is that he will be signing his contract here, whether he's actually put the ink to paper or not, and he will be joining the minor league club on a tryout for the rest of the season, and his contract will start next season with the New York Islanders. So for those people who have been asking me, again, I don't know if that's accurate 100% or not. I know Pagnotta reported it yesterday. I did ask around a little bit. The information that I kind of got back was yes, that was the case. I do know hockey, I do know players on BU. I asked them, like, is Izzy gone? And they said, yeah, he signed. So, some of the boys told me that. I am curious, like, you talk about a team that can always use goal scoring help. It sort of is curious to me, with this much time left in the season, why the burning of a year and the opportunity to come right in, wouldn't have been presented. Is that cap? Is that contract related because they have too many contracts? Like, I haven't looked into it that closely, but what are you hearing around the Cole Eiserman situation with the New York Islanders? Situation's not a right word. Let's call it the Cole Eiserman signing with the New York Islanders rumor or news that came out yesterday.
Yeah, from what I was told, the decision hasn't been 100% made yet. That being said, it sounds like he's going to sign. He will be with Bridgeport on a tryout, and it won't kick in until 2026, 2027. So it's not official yet, but it certainly seems like that's going to happen. As for the Islanders at contracts, they're at 49 of 50 contracts. If you sign for next year, that wouldn't matter. But I think it's always how it goes. You sign with the Bridgeport that way. He joins in. And for Bridgeport, for Eiserman, first off, I think, and I wrote a story about this a week ago, and Colby, you could let me know on this in terms of, you played college hockey, you both did. But Cole Eiserman needs to work on other areas of his game besides scoring. And I think going back to BU with Hutson leaving, with that program struggling maybe a little, Pandolfo, I know, took a lot of the blame for what happened this year. Like, I think this is the perfect time for him to leave. He got what he got out of college, which is probably a fantastic experience for him. But now he'll go to Bridgeport and Islanders organization where they'll have specialized coaches working on him with X, Y, and Z to grow his game. So, yeah, we'll see when it officially becomes official, when he does sign with Aitchison. Obviously, I did become official, but I do think it will happen. We'll get that announcement soon. I just know for a fact at this point, it's not 100% done. But again, trending that way.
Yeah, I'm going to just disagree with a couple of things that you said, Steph, and I disagree. And I think that, listen, I love Cole Eiserman. He was such a great and fun Terrier to watch. I will definitely miss seeing him play at Aganis next year and wearing, my favorite sweater there is. So I'll just put that out there. Like, he was such a great Terrier. What an electric player. Watching the growth in him as a player, as a person. I can't speak any higher of the kid. So it's obviously a little bit different than some of the words that I've had about other guys. But I do disagree. I do think another year of playing for Jay Pandolfo would have been really beneficial for him. I think you go to the American League, it's a lot of games. It's a little bit less development time. There's less there's less growth opportunities in some other areas, less time in the gym, less time to potentially, you're talking about specialized coaches. they have all that at BU. You have power skating help. You have skill help. You have Jay Pandolfo, who understood how to play without the puck as well as anybody. The reason I don't like this as much is because he's not having the opportunity to burn a year and go right to the NHL. It is a new general manager that didn't draft him, right? Those are just facts. He was drafted by the last general manager, not Matthew Darche. And again, like, most of these Sasha Boisvert had 3 goals this year, and he burned a year and went right to Chicago. Now, different scenario. Chicago's a bottom 5 team, right? But you have all these other players, these first-round picks that get to burn a year and go right to the National Hockey League. I don't know. Like, to me, I would have liked to have seen him stay for selfish reasons and because, hey, like, I think he could have used the year. Extremely talented. His goal-scoring ability is NHL ready. The way he shoots the puck, NHL ready. You put him on a power play in the National Hockey League, that guy's going to score right away. So those are some areas that I would push back on what you said. Obviously, everybody looks at these situations in a different way. I will miss seeing him, though, and I will be rooting for Cole Eiserman to be a tremendous New York Islander for many years to come.
Can I add one thing quick?
No, I'll just jump in real quick with the Darche thing. You mentioned Darche.
Well done.
Thank you. I told you I'm having a morning. You mentioned Darche, and I think that plays a huge part in this. When we were on the draft floor, and sorry, lads. We were on the draft floor, and
are you kidding me?
We were on the draft floor, and Lou had just drafted Eiserman, and obviously he fell to 20, and we asked, why did you feel that was the right guy to pick? He was falling, and he said, I have the utmost faith in Pandolfo to get this guy going. Obviously, Lou and Jay Pandolfo are a great relationship. That's why I think it's different now is Darche. I mean, I'm sure Darche, likes Pandolfo, and they obviously probably respects him, but that's not his guy. He trusts Rocky Thompson in Bridgeport and trusts what he's building there. So that from that standpoint, and of course, you want to sign your prospects, right? You don't want them to, you want to have them in your system. But I think that's what it is for Darche. If it was Lou, I'm sure he would go back to school because Lou would say, hey, keep developing with Pandolfo. But I think with Darche here, his trust in Rocky and the development program they have and they're building in Bridgeport, I think that plays a huge part in this. Laz, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, too, like, I don't know Cole super well, but getting to know him, like, a little bit and getting to know Cole Hutson, I would say, like, emotionally, maybe he'd be ready for pro, right? Like after a tough year at BU, seeing his best buddy go on and sign pro, right, it'd be tough to stick around at BU. Like I think he's ready for a new challenge. Something.
He could have been playing on a wing with Tynan Lawrence next year. I mean, Tynan Lawrence is going to be a star. So he would have had players to play with. But I do agree with you, Johnny. Like once you mentally leave, you got to go. It doesn't do you any good to come back. And to Cole's credit, he worked through a really difficult goal scoring slump this year, but he worked through it.
And then the injury.
And he finished the year on a high, in my opinion. Like I thought Cole never packed it in this year like some players did. And so, I give him credit for working through that. I think that's only going to benefit him long term. And I do think he will score goals in the American League. Like I think he'll go down there, and I think you'll be talking about his first American League goal within the first couple of games. This guy at every level will score. The question will be, will that outweigh other areas? Will the other areas get better? The other thing I could say about Cole Eiserman, and this comes directly from Jay Pandolfo and talking with Jay Pandolfo, Cole Eiserman is hungry to get better. He is a hungry guy to work on what he's not good at. Where a lot of players go on the ice and they like working on what they're good at and refining what they're good at, Cole is hungry to watch video about without the puck. He wants to learn where his holes are. He wants the critical feedback from his coaches. So those attributes about him, Steph, I do think gives him an opportunity to really kind of, level up his game in areas that he doesn't need to. I'm certainly not betting against Cole Eiserman. The kid's a gamer. Like I said, I would have loved to have seen him back for selfish reasons and other, but I'm going to root for him for the rest of his career and be one of his cheerleaders in his corner for the rest of his career. So now, Ariel, I'll be watching even more Islander hockey once Cole Eiserman ends up at UBS. So don't worry.
that hunger and drive and that energy. I mean, I wrote about that the other day. I said, you hope that fuels him to get better in the areas. That the willingness to get better is going to power him through and get him to the NHL. I truly believe that. The question is, like you said, is he ready for the AHL? And how does he do in the AHL against adults and the 200-foot game? Everyone knocks him. But again, he does something that the Islanders desperately need. The question is, when he's ready to go to the NHL level, do the Islanders do what they've done with the other prospects, the Bellas, the Wallstroms, the Dal Coles, whatever, start in bottom six roles that they're not really capable, that's not their game, and have them work up? Or do you throw them in a top six role and let them flourish there? Because, and again, I don't know if either Bellas or Wallstrom ever had it to be NHLers in top six roles, but they didn't start there. They were forced to play bottom six roles and be that kind of player, and it didn't work out. And then you look this year, Callum Ritchie for his perfect example. Started on the second line in his first NHL game. So if he's a top six player, give him the opportunity to be a top six player. You don't give him an opportunity to be a player he's not. So if Cole Eiserman gets that chance, you hope that it's a top six role, because he's probably not fit to be a defensive forward that gets up one or two rushes a game and scores.
But based on where the Islanders are with their lineup too, I would think Cole would get that chance. Like, what's their left side? It's Heineman, Duclair.
Well, I don't think Eiserman's going to be up next. I don't think Eiserman's going to start with the Islanders next year. I think it's important to let him go. If he's going to Pittsburgh,
the plan can always change.
Yeah, right. Like, I think Victor Eklund's going to make the Islanders out of camp, and that's a left side guy. You probably think they try to move on from Duclair this summer. You have Heineman, but they have a lot of wingers that can play both sides too, which is pretty good with this. So yeah, I think Eiserman's going to give it all he's got, but I don't think it's a problem starting in Bridgeport, give him 10 or so games and let him earn it. But yeah, I mean, again, if this guy proves that, hey, his 200-foot game is better than everyone thinks, and he can handle the physical toll that comes with playing in the NHL, which I think he definitely can, his shot's unreal, and the Islanders need that. That's the other thing too, is this summer, the Islanders tried to get a top six forward at the deadline. Darch was not willing to move on from any players that were turning pro. And this offseason, there's not really, like, Alex Tuch's the top name right now, right? If Cole Eiserman could be that guy and you save money and you're not spending $10 million on a sniper and you have that sniper on ELC deal, that all the power to you. So hopefully for the Islanders, like, he comes over and Eiserman comes over and he's ready over the next year and a half to be that guy so the Islanders could actually save money and just have that weapon ready.
Colby, got anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly ask you about a couple of other little things, because I'm just looking at like what their roster looks like for next year. Do you think Tony D is a long-term fit with this team? Is that something you see getting done? I mean, he loves being in New York. Like, he loves the fit there. He loves Schaefer. When I talked to him about Schaefer, he is so enamored with how good Schaefer is. And I remember early in the year thinking to myself, because like Tony started as the number one power play guy, and then it wasn't long until Schaefer took that from him, right? And you never know how a guy's going to react to that. But when I talk to Tony, he's like, the kid is sick. I mean, that's like, he just like gushes over how good the kid is. So do you think that is a long-term fit? Because you do need more than one guy. You need someone who can fill in on injuries. You need someone to run your second power play. You need guys who can transport the puck when you have Pelech and Mayfield and Soucy. Like, those guys are not Tony D, even close to puck moving ability as Tony D. So I'm curious if you could see that maybe he gets a 3-year extension or something like that on the island.
Yeah, he's been a perfect fit. There's a reason that the Islanders brought him back. And I think the Islanders have no depth on the right side. And I think, I don't know if he'll get a 3-year deal, but I could see a 1 to 2 year deal at a little more than he's making. I think he's making $1.75 million this year, probably $2.25, $2.5 million to stick around. And again, until the Islanders get right side defensemen in their prospect pool, they need a guy like Tony DeAngelo. So yeah, I could 100% see it. I know he loves being an Islander. I don't know if it goes 3 years, but definitely 2 years. I think that could definitely work out for this team because they surely need him. He's been probably, Sorokin stolen the show, Schaefer stolen the show. DeAngelo has been fantastic, especially with how he's impacted Adam Pelech. Adam Pelech looks like Jacob Slavin, that kind of level again. So yeah, DeAngelo deserves definitely a multi-year extension.
Can I say one thing? Oh, I'm going to stop saying that because I don't want you guys to say no. I got to stop saying that. You just said, though, Sorokin stole the show, Schaefer stole the show. But, like, Barzal's been so fucking good, too. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, this is the good thing about the Islanders this year. It's not keep going.
I think other guys are overshadowing Barzal, and Barzal, he might be the best player all year consistently outside of like Sorokin. Like, I think Barzal's had just as good of a year as Schaefer has. It's just different, obviously. Schaefer's,
but so you expect. Right. So Sorokin was obviously coming off a weird year and a half with the back surgery, and I don't know if you expect him to be the Vezina guy this year. You look at Schaefer, you didn't expect him to be what he is this year. Tony DeAngelo, I don't think you expected him to be this point machine in the way he's played. Like, you expect Barzal, I know he's coming off the knee injury, but you expect Barzal to be good. So I think it's more of not a shock factor, maybe take Sorokin out of that, but I didn't expect Tony DeAngelo to be this good defensively. So like, again, Barzal's having a fantastic year. You're right. Don't take anything away from him, but you expect that from this point in Barzal's game. You know what he can do. DeAngelo's, I think the better word for me probably would be surprising. Again, Schaefer's been a really good surprise. DeAngelo, I think, has been a really good surprise.
Fair.
Well, listen, the guy realized that Schaefer's the guy who gets to, play the high risk, high reward style, and you don't get two of those. So I'll give Tony credit for realizing, all right, I'm not the guy who can go high risk, high reward all the time. I can't be Evan Bouchard anymore because now we've got Schaefer who gets to play that way. And your leash gets a little bit shorter when there's somebody else who can go out and run the top power play. When you're the only guy who can run your number one power play, your leash is substantially longer. And so
look at Noah Dobson with the Islanders, same thing. They had one guy. It had to be that guy and it didn't work, but they had no choice.
Exactly. So, that's where I'm not shocked with Tony, knowing how much he loves being in New York and he loves playing for Patrick Waugh. I'm not surprised that he's made some smart, sort of revelations about his own game. Listen, his minutes are down too. Last year, he averaged 23 and a half minutes. This year, he's averaging 19 minutes, right? So that's 5 or 6 less shifts, right? That's 1 to 2 less shifts a period. You're not getting as much time on the power play. It's more at 5-on-5. So, I'm with you. But I know there's always been this other stuff with Tony, but I know him, and you put him on a rink, right? And you keep his wires from crossing, which they do happen at times. The guy is hockey IQ off the chart. He is an extremely gifted hockey IQ defenseman in the National Hockey League. So I'm happy to see it, but I'm not surprised to see it. And I hope that he does re-sign with some sort of term. He's been playing on these 1-year deals ever since New York. And so I'd love to see him add a little bit of length to his contract. And the thing I'll say about Barzal, Jonny, just to say, yes, he's looking like a point a game guy. He's right around there, either above it or below it right now.
I think 3 below
it, right? So I think Ariel told us 77-point pace. He's only got 18 goals, and he's going to score 20 this year. But I do feel like, again, I know he's a playmaker. His ability is a playmaker. I feel like most of the playmakers, they don't get talked about quite at the same level as the heavy goal scorers. It's just kind of the reality. And I think with Barzal, you're seeing him dominate in all 3 zones. And I think you're seeing him, you don't see him taking those big loops anymore away from the puck. You don't see poke and go. You don't see you're stabbing and then you're swinging. He's stopping on pucks. He's going into the defensive battles. You see him constantly above it in the offensive zone, below it in the defensive zone, being extremely responsible. So I just think his game has rounded out and matured, and he's putting up 80 points. And while I'm not going to go to the E word, he's becoming a guy that is sort of the number one forward and the number one carrier for his team, which he's been in New York doing that for a while, but I just think it's another level of play for him right now. And it's not just what he's doing on the score sheet, right? And I think it's always important to point that out. It's not just the goals and the assists. It's the way he's affecting the game without the puck.
Well, I'm going to make Colby look really good right now. So I asked Barzal, do you think you're having the best season of your career? Are you playing the best hockey of your career? And he said, I wouldn't say that. He goes, I'm playing the smartest hockey of my career, the most polished hockey. He talked a lot about how when he's playing well defensively, he knows there are games where he needs to put on the offensive jets and goes. But he goes, I could also win us a game by picking off a pass in the D zone or blocking a 2-on-1. And he goes, I take so much pride in that. And we've talked before, I think I've talked on the show about this. Bo Horvat was so good for him. Moving him to the wing for that 1 year before, going back center, going back to Horvat's wing, like seeing what a guy like Barzal does, Horvat does. And even the same with Brock Nelson, same thing. Brock Nelson was a guy that was an offensive guy only, then learned how to be a 200-foot player. We saw what he did with Team USA. So Barzal is the most polished and most responsible he's ever been. And there's a reason why the Islanders are having more success.
Mm-hmm. Good point. What's coming up next, Steph? What do you got here for the Islanders?
Well, so I don't have anything official on this, but I wouldn't be shocked if Danny Nelson was going back to school to stay at Notre Dame, not come. And I know the Islanders have to wait on Quinn Finley. Wisconsin might get a bid, right?
Yeah.
So March 22nd, I think, is when that finds out. But the Islanders Bridgeport's looking like they're going to make the playoffs, getting Eiserman. Maybe Aitchison joins after the Barry Colts season. That's fun. But this is the Islanders team, man, that, Barzal talked about it after the game. Wow, everyone around them is winning, but they're also winning too. And this race, we talk every year, tighter and tighter and tighter. It's probably going to come down to the last game of the year, but the Islanders, I don't think the Islanders have been out of a playoff spot since December. That's new for them. So it's been a really fun season. We obviously all want to see Schaefer play in the playoffs, but this stretch run you're going to see the character and the test of a lot of these guys. And a guy like Schaefer didn't feel well yesterday at all. He had a bit of a tummy ache, he said. Led the team in time on ice. Like, this guy's a unit. So it's a fun group right now. But again, you lose 2 games, you're out of a playoff spot. So they play Ottawa and then Montreal. It's a huge way this is their final road trip of the season. They play 2 one-offs for the rest of the year, but this is a huge weekend for them.
What's the plan for Aitchison? He signed yesterday or 2 days ago, right?
And he signed. He can't join until after he signed 9 for next year. He'll do the amateur trial to join Bridgeport, but he can't do that. He can't do that until after Barry's season ends. But also, too, and I think other people have said this, he's not, the next year that CBA where you could have a 19-year-old play in the AHL, he's going to be 20 before. So he's not the exemption. He can go to Bridgeport and play. There's nothing wrong there at all.
Is it going to be Bridgeport, though? Like, is it?
Yeah, I thought Hamilton.
What is going on with that?
Yeah.
It is going to be Hamilton because let me just say this. Bridgeport, a place that I have played a lot of games in my career. I've broadcasted a lot of games in my career. Like, not the place to be, Bridgeport. It's just not. But it's right down the road. Now, all of a sudden, you're a flight away and a border crossing away. It does make it a little more difficult on a pinch to get guys in and out of town. And it does make it more difficult to say, oh, it's an off day for the NHL club. In Boston and Providence, Doug Huda, who was the D coach, Hoods used to come on the ice with us when the Bruins were off, and he'd come work with the D. Like, we would have that sort of shared, opportunity with coaches in the NHL and the AHL. I hate that they're moving to a place where it's not as close, even though Bridgeport is not the place to be. Okay, it's just not. Yeah.
The Islanders haven't announced that they're moving. It seems like that is happening. They will be in Hamilton. I agree. I think it'll be cool, though, for a lot of these prospects. One, a lot of the Canadian prospects where their families come see them play. Also, a lot more, the prospect pool is growing. More eyes are going to be on the prospect pool. That might, who knows, that helps with trade talks or things like that. But I know the arena, the people that own UBS or built UBS also built the arena in Hamilton as well. So there are definitely things there. I don't think it's 100% confirmed. Again, the Islanders haven't said anything yet. I'm sure they're going to wait to make an announcement at the right time. But all signs point, yes, the Islanders, and I keep saying Bridgeport because it's just a habit, but all signs point to them being in Hamilton next year.
Yeah. All right, Steph, I got nothing else for you. I don't know if Colby does, but we always love having you on. We appreciate you jumping on this morning. Fresh from not playing. Yeah, that was good. I think you just earned a lot of respect points from Colby.
Did you see Laviolette giving it to Jonny yesterday? Did you see any of those clips, Steph?
I did. It's fantastic.
People were texting me Actually, like current players were texting me and they're like, this guy gets Peter Laviolette to do his podcast and he's got to ask him about Lafreniere and the power play. Like, what is wrong with him? I mean,
I thought it was a good question.
The reaction that I got from some of our guys, and I'm sure I don't even have to say who it was. Johnny already knows which guys are texting me. The first guy to text me and chirp, the first guy to text me and chirp Johnny is always Tony D. He's the first one. He loves to chirp Johnny. I mean, he loves Johnny, but he loves to chirp him. And so if you haven't seen that interview of Johnny with Laviolette yesterday, make sure you guys go to the Tri-State show on the Daily Faceoff and check that out. It was a great interview, man. Coaches, when they're not coaching, are great on these types of shows.
Yeah, Tony chirped me the other day. We don't have to get into that, but yeah, he's great. Like he's
what do you say?
Yes. All right. So when the Islanders were the Islanders were talking to the Canucks about Garland, right? And I was reporting they were having serious talks. I walk into the room, and Tony D goes, "Oh, look, it's Stefen Friedman." as like, and then yeah, he called me Stefan. So the next day I was like, "Listen, if you're gonna chirp me, you got to get my name right." Then he apologized. I'm like, "You don't have to apologize. I've been called worse." But like, and then Friedman comes to the Islanders practice the other day. And he walks in, Tony goes, look, your replacement's here. Whatever. It was, honestly, Tony D's been fantastic. First off, the Islanders room all does that, but Tony D's been really awesome to talk to. He's so honest too. Like if you want to go to him and really get an answer, like he'll tell it to you straight. But yeah, he's been great to work with and talk to.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff. I love that.
Wait, how are you gonna kick me off this show this time? Because last time it was like, see ya.
I don't know.
Should I just get up? Can I just get up and walk out?
Did you see the start of our show? We were cracking up at the start of the show. It's been an interesting day with the vibes on this show, but it's been fun. Yeah, I guess we'll let you go in a smooth way today. So we appreciate your time as always, Steph, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon, and we'll be catching up with you throughout the entire playoff run here for the Islanders.
Thanks, Colby.
See you, Roz.
He's on fire today. He's feeling it.
I gotta give a little bit of love to so a friend of mine who doesn't normally catch the show live is driving right now. He was up in Kitchener last night watching Mason Corville, who was a goalie who played for him. He's in charge of player development for the Atlantic District. His name is Rich Eby. He had a big hand in helping me as a young player. He's been doing the Atlantic District stuff, which is the district I came up in. Actually, the district Glenn is still the president of our district here in the Atlantic area. So give him a little bit of love. He helps me with players, helped me bring a guy to our Titans team this year who has just been such a treat to coach. And if I don't get that call from Rich Eby about it, we probably wouldn't have made the trade. So I just wanted to give him a little bit of love. I know he's got a long car ride right now and he's listening live, which I don't think he normally is able to listen live. He's part of the group of superintendents for a school out in the western part of PA, like sort of towards Harrisburg. So he's a busy guy, but he's a hockey lifer. I work with him in the summer a little bit when we do the USA hockey stuff. So he's listening today live, which is cool to have. People are asking about, the connection with me and Tony in the chat. So Tony is from South Philly. My wife is actually also from South Philly. My father-in-law and his dad, like they grew up in the same, square block basically. And, in South Philly, it's almost, it's its own country in South Philly. I mean, they are a small little section of Philadelphia, very, very heavily Italian section. They have their own codes, their own language. I mean, it is a really, really unique culture that they have. So, and besides that, I met Tony when he was maybe 13 years old. I was 18 years old, I think maybe a freshman at BU. And, someone said to me, like, you got to see this kid play. He's at your age, he's better than you were. And like at the time, our area didn't really have a ton of guys. Like Johnny Gaudreau and Tony were similar age group. So those guys were sort of the next wave. But at like my age group and older, there weren't a ton of hockey guys coming out of this area. So somebody was like, hey, look, you got to see this kid play. He's unbelievable. So like, I get on the ice with a 13-year-old Tony D. I'm 18, maybe 19, maybe he's 14. I could be give or take a year here. And I remember watching this kid and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, he's already as good as I am. I'm 18 years old at BU. He's 13 playing youth hockey in South Jersey at the time. And I'm like, this kid is unbelievable. And so, you know, I've known Tony forever, since he's a little kid. And so people are asking, you know, what's that connection? I grew up in Villanova, PA, which is 30 minutes outside of the city. But obviously, I love the Philly kids. And speaking of Philly kids, Vinnie Borgesi.
I was just going to bring it up. Yeah, I was just going to bring it up.
You made a comment to me yesterday that we made a bet over that. We never made a bet over that. You're wrong here. I was unsure.
I don't know if we made an official bet, but I said he was going to sign an NHL contract.
And what I had said was that I just honestly I thought his path to making a ton of money and playing, I thought he would go play in Europe and be unbelievable, whether it was in Switzerland, whether it was in the KHL. Look, you know, Vinny, who's an extremely talented hockey player, it's hard to be an undersized defenseman and make it in the National Hockey League. It is really hard. So, you know, I love Vinnie Borgesi. I'm so happy he gets a 2-year deal in Toronto. I will be rooting for that kid as hard as I root for anybody. Great kid, heart of a lion, unbelievable family. Is another great South Philly family. So when I saw he signed with Toronto yesterday, I was so happy to see that. You know, and the funny part is look, as I texted them both yesterday, I said, look, you're at the beginning of an incredible journey, but this is a huge mile marker to get an NHL contract, to get a signing bonus. Listen, you can't get on the dance floor if you're not at the dance, right? And in order to get to the dance, you need a ticket. And he got the ticket. He signed the contract. He's going to be one of 45 to 50 players under contract next year with the Maple Leafs. And, you know, he's going to have to go earn a spot. And look, I wouldn't bet against the kid. That's for damn sure. I wouldn't bet against the kid.
Could he not go run their power play right now? With where the season is for the Leafs, the season's over. Why not throw him in, see what he can do, and have him run their first power play? He is a power play guy. His offensive instincts are incredible for a defenseman. The way he moves along the blue line, his shot, his passing. Vinnie Borgesi's one of those guys who plays rover. Yesterday we had that conversation, or maybe 2 days ago, with John Michael Lyles, Colby, about that positionless hockey or defenseman being an extra forward. Vinnie Borgesi's one of those guys. It kind of reminded me. So my roommate at Mercyhurst was Joey Duzak. He signed with the Leafs after our junior year. He had 55 or points or something like that in the Atlantic Conference that year. But you know, I think Borgesi's probably just a better version of Duzak. It reminded me a lot of that signing. But Joey never got his shot with the Leafs. He was a Marley, and then things didn't really work out.
Dude,
things didn't really work out.
You know, when you're not a high-end draft pick, it's hard. I mean, there's a reason that, you know, a lot of these really good college players, they don't end up making their way, but you have no chance without the contract. You get the contract, you now have a chance. You're in the mix. Do I think he could run the power play right now? I don't know, Johnny.
Well, just because where the season is. Who
think about it.
Riley
Could Cole Eiserman help the power play? You know what I mean? You don't think they have any?
That's a playoff team versus a team.
I understand, but to just sit here and say a guy can just go run a power play in the NHL is, in my opinion, discounting how hard it is to run a power play in the NHL. I mean, so I don't throw that around as cavalier, maybe as you do, but like I said, I will be rooting for Borgesi. You know, he was a captain as a sophomore at Northeastern. He had the C on his chest as a sophomore, which says a lot about the player's character, right? So, you know, I know this ended up in a tangent, but we're talking about South Philly. I don't see how you can't bring up South Philly's Vinnie Borgesi signing that contract. First guy to post about it on social media yesterday, Tony DeAngelo. First guy I see tweeting about it. So good for him, good for them. And you know, we will definitely monitor Borgesi as his American League career jumps off.
Can you address the comment in the chat from KMac412? Why does Colby hate the Islanders so much? Did they do something to him somewhere along the line? Never showed interest in signing him, etc. Genuinely curious. It's so obvious he just likes them.
Well, I guess that would mean that I hate the entire NHL if it's because they didn't show interest in signing me. Because I would say that was a majority, if not all but 2 or 3 NHL organizations when I was coming up. I don't know how in the conversation that we just had for 35 minutes with Stefen Rosner, that's what you heard. Listen, everybody is entitled to feel the way that they do. But I can't think of one thing that I just said about the Islanders that would lead you to believe that. I talked about, how good Barzal has been. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't talk about how good his points are. I talked about other things that I see him doing really well. I talked about wanting to see players extend there because they love it so much. I'm not really sure, K-Mac, what I just said would lead you to believe that. I don't really know, honestly. I mean, everybody thinks that I hate your team. Is there one person that thinks, oh, Colby loves our team? I mean, like, I don't know. Is there one?
The only thing Colby hates are the things that I like. Let's just make that clear. Right. That's the only thing he hates.
That's true. Except I like your family.
Yeah.
You like your family. I like your family. I like Emily.
Family.
I like Emily more than I like you.
Meanwhile, I got a comment on the clip that I posted with Laviolette. Like, we were joking about it before, but someone was like, Jonny clearly doesn't like Lafreniere. He was the first star of the week, and he went silent and just interviews a coach about not playing Lafreniere. Like, if you listen to me and you think I don't like Alexis Lafreniere, like
the chat right now, you guys are making me laugh here. Everyone's Colby, noted Blues hater. Colby hates the Maple Leafs. Boston, Jeremiah. You can't be saying that I hate Boston, right? I mean, I do love the Leafs, by the way, Sharma. I do. I love so many things about so many teams. So I don't know. I don't really
name one thing you love about the Kraken.
They have 2 jumbotrons.
That's good.
The people that work the press box are really, really friendly.
Joey Decord, dude. We love Joey Decord.
Joey Decord. He gives great interviews. Known household name.
We love Joey. All right.
How's the show doing, Joey Decord?
He doesn't do a show. He's just been doing the YouTube page, but it's doing really well. He gets a lot of views. He's the man. We got to have him back on here. I mean, they lost last night to Tampa.
You asked me one thing I love about the Seattle Kraken. You want to know what that is? Jenna Henderson. That's what I love about the Seattle Kraken. Mm-hmm. There you go.
I need to go there.
That's what I love about the Seattle
Tough
Kraken.
Loss for the Kraken last night. Nikita Kucherov, 5-point night, hat trick, 2 assists. He's so unreal. I coached younger kids last night, and we were doing a drill where you pick the puck up off the boards, and I was telling them about how Nikita Kucherov is the guy who does it for like 30 minutes before practice every day. Obviously, we got that from Mitchell Chafee. I got to check in with Chafe. He got put on waivers earlier this year, hasn't been claimed or anything. He's in the AHL. Just got to check in on. Yeah, but we've rambled and we've sidetracked a lot today. We got one more show this week. Tomorrow, we'll work on our guests for tomorrow. What's the slate looking like tonight for games? How many games are there tonight? There are 6 games. We got Devils Rangers. I'll be there. That's on TNT. Penguins Canes. That's a great one. Sens Caps. Another great one. Will Cole Hutson be playing tonight? We haven't gotten any word, right? But he was partnered with Matt. He was the second pair yesterday, I think, in practice.
I would think he's going to play. I mean, I don't see why you're bringing him in there without playing him. I mean, if you're not I mean, I guess I should check where the wild card standings are. I mean, look, are they out of it?
6 points out. Only 6 points.
Are they out of it? No. Is it likely that they're a playoff team when you've got Columbus 6-0-4 in their last 10? Ottawa 7-1-2 in their last 10. Phillies even 6-3-1 in their last 10. Like, the interesting part though is they do have a +9 goal differential. Like, normally the teams below the cut line do not have plus goal differentials. So I think Cole Hudson's going to play. I think you got to get him in there right away, especially not having Carlson for the power play. Yeah. And listen, I think you could play Hutson with a guy like Van Riemsdyk, because I think Van Riemsdyk is one of the smartest defensemen in the National Hockey League. He just always makes the next right play. Like, if I was going to put put a high octane offensive guy, I'd want to find him the smartest partner I could. And not that there's anything wrong with Roy, but I would have loved to have seen him play with BVR, or sorry, TVR.
TVR.
Yeah. BVR youngest brother, TVR middle brother. But that's the guy I would have liked to have seen him play. But I'll be watching to see Cole Hutson tonight for sure.
There's great matchups, Colby. The late TNT game is Stars Avs, and then you got Trevor Zegras has returned to Anaheim at 10 o'clock, Flyers Ducks. Blues Flames, I'm going to skip over that one. But 5 of the 6 games, really good matchups tonight. So should be a fun night around the NHL. But let's get into our Bet365 bet of the night. There are a few things more stressful than a close hockey game. One late back check can make all the difference between a chance at playoff glory or an early spring tea time. That's why Bet365, an official partner of the NHL, is offering 3-goal early payout. If the team you're riding goes up 3 goals at any point in the game, they'll pay your bet out early. Hockey fans have enough things to stress about with 3-goal early payout. Now your bets don't have to be one of them. So Bet365, download the app today. You must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Tonight we're going with the Washington Capitals on the money line at home against the Ottawa Senators. The Sens have been buzzing. They've won 5 of 6, but the Caps got a feeling they're going to work their way back into the mix. They're not fully out of it yet, like we just talked about. And hopefully Cole Hutson does play tonight and shines in his debut. So we will watch the Washington Capitals and the Ottawa Senators tonight. Any final thoughts before we wrap up today's show, Cole? All you. I think you're muted somehow. So we can't hear you. I can't hear you. Not sure why that is, but I'll wrap up the show today.
I muted myself because I was coughing while you were talking about Bet365. No, I was going to say, tomorrow's our last show of the week, Johnny, and tomorrow's our last show that we will have with you in your 20s, Johnny. So make sure you really drink that in. Tomorrow will be our last show because Johnny will turn 30 and officially no longer be a pizza boy. He'll be a pizza man this weekend when he turns 30 years old. So the great Ari Gold used that line in an episode of Entourage when talking to his esteemed assistant, Lloyd, which I sometimes kind of think of you like Lloyd.
You think of me like Lloyd? That's really nice.
When I think about the dynamics of our show. So we'll all sing happy birthday tomorrow to you, Johnny, even though your birthday
look at Ben Benya's comment.
we're not doing it the show over the weekend, obviously, and your birthday will be over the weekend. Yes, Johnny does have a big announcement tomorrow. He did make a big announcement today. We're all really happy for you, Johnny. We are. You're glowing. That's why. You're glowing. So we hope everybody enjoyed today's show. Hit the like button on the way out. Make sure you subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube page. Make sure you hit the automatic download function on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave comments on the stream when we're done. We will talk a little bit tomorrow about what our plans here will be coming up as we start inching towards A, the playoffs, B, the NCAA tournament. We will do some stuff surrounding the NCAA tournament, figuring out if we can do a show together in the same place in Vegas here over the next couple of days. So have a great day, everyone. Hit that like button, and we'll see you back here at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Morning Cuppa Hockey here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, we've got more great hockey content every day. You can catch DFO live at noon and stick around for the Sheet with Jeff Marek at 1 p.m. right here on Daily Faceoff. Until then, keep your coffee hot